Welcome, Fart Knockers, to TP for Your Earholes. Today we are premiering this podcast, our very first episode. We want you to get to know us a little bit, how we got into the show, and where we're going to go with this series. So my name is Patrick Schmidt, and I have a very lovely co-host.
It's because you're biased. I'm Charlynn Schmidt. I am Patrick's wife.
And we've been together for almost 20 years now. We are about 19 and a half years together. And we have really enjoyed this show together for a long time. It was one of the first things that we bonded over. And we are very excited to bring this podcast to you that's going to be kind of a look at the show as a whole. We're going to look at the original run, the movies, the 2011 reboot, the 2022 reboot. We are really going to cover all of it, and we're going to look at it not episode by episode, but kind of idea by idea, issue by issue, and we're very excited to do that. I just can't wait to dive in.
Yeah, me too. You and I have been planning this idea and talking about it, discussing it, I think actually for years now.
Yes.
It's been an idea percolating in our heads, and we thought, you know what, we should just do this thing. We love this show. It really did help bring us together as a common ground kind of a thing. We bonded over it, and this show does not get enough love. Maybe because it is 30-something years since it premiered now, but as far as podcast content goes, as far as I see in the day that we are recording this in 2025, nobody else is premiering a show. Now, that could mean one of a couple things. One, this is a stupid idea, and it probably is. That's okay. But then two, you know what? There probably is an audience out there. It's just we need to put ourselves out there and have you all find us.
Yeah, so to get to know us a little bit before we dive into the Beavis and Butt-head stuff, I have been teaching journalism at the college level for about 15 years now. Before that, I was a sports writer and worked in newspapers for about 5 years before that. And newspapering is actually where Shara and I met.
That's right. Yeah, we were doing the old grind at the newspaper, working second shift, and we would go home and hang out and watch some Beavis and Butt-head after dinner. That was a ritual for a long time. And let's be honest, it still is.
Yes, we will watch Beavis and Butt-head before we go to sleep. We will watch it when we are flipping through channels on the free, what's that called?
Pluto TV.
Yeah, we will watch Pluto TV when we're flipping through the Roku, and the Beavis and Butt-head episodes will be there. We'll just watch them randomly. And is now the time to tell the story of our first kiss?
I think it is. Go for it.
All right. Because when we started dating in late 2005, oh my gosh.
20 years ago. Can you believe that?
You had some, I will say, not legally acquired Beavis and Butt-head episodes on your computer.
Really? Well, whatever do you talk about, buddy?
All right.
Keep in mind, this was also before the King Turd collection.
Oh, yes.
So this was really cobbled together whatever I could scrape type of stuff.
And we had been hanging out for a few days, and then I got to go over to your apartment, and together we watched Beavis and Butt-head. And this was like the third night of 3 nights in a row that we had been hanging out together. And we watched, I remember it distinctly, cow tipping.
Of all episodes,
cow tipping. And then once that episode was done, I said something to the effect of, I think we've watched enough Beavis and Butt-head for the night. And you were like, oh, really? And then I kissed you, and then, the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest will leave to your imaginations.
Yeah. But it was really indeed one of the first things we bonded over was our love for this show. That was nice because we have very distinct interests. Char, what are you into?
Not exactly what you're into all the time. In fact, I'm a pretty big nerd. I have been a sci-fi fan the vast majority of my life, let's say since 6 years old, when I discovered Star Trek. And I am very active in that fandom as a podcaster, as a fan, all of it. And a lot of that consumes my time creatively, at least in part for some work, and certainly for my enjoyment as well. But you're not a sci-fi fan. I have tried, and you've watched some things with me, granted, to your credit, but your interests lie elsewhere. Where are they?
So my interests have been for a long time in the realm of sports and sports journalism, and where those things intersect is where I feel most at home. I really have put a lot of energy and effort into researching high school football in our home state of Wyoming, but I've also started to delve a little bit more into some other interests, and one of them has been this show and really getting into it. And this is our second big project together. I mean, third big project if you count a marriage.
I'd say that qualifies, yeah.
Okay, so first one, marriage. Second one, we did a YouTube video series for about, what, 3 years?
Yeah.
That was for the show Babylon 5. I had never watched it before, had never seen an episode. Char, maybe your favorite TV show of all time.
Yep.
And we watched it together, her as the expert, me as the newbie. And we watched every single episode and put up a 5-minute recap called Babel for 5. You can still find it on YouTube. I think it holds up pretty well.
Even our 90s quality green screen work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was true to form. It was true to the day. We had a lot of fun, and I'm still to this day just so tickled that you watched Babylon 5 with me because it is my favorite show of all time. And so the fact that you humored me on that, but also you had such great insights on it. You know, we had really good back and forth on a show that's saying a lot of things. It's not just a sci-fi show. So it was just fun. And we did it together. And now we're doing this together. And I feel like Babel for 5 was the walking part. Now we're going to run. We're going to really run with this because this is a show we are so into and have had embedded in our brains for the last 30-something years. So we have encyclopedic knowledge embedded inside us, and we love talking about the show. We quote it all the time in daily conversation. And listeners, if you're out there and this sounds like you have found your people.
Yes, and we are very excited to talk about a show I think that doesn't get a lot of analytical love. It's mostly people who are just like, oh, the show is so stupid. We're going to try to maybe dissuade you from feeling that way a little bit because we think there's a lot more depth to this than what you might see on the surface. And we're going to get into that in a variety of episodes.
Can I counter you on something?
Sure.
The people who think Beavis and Butt-head is a stupid show are not listening to a podcast about Beavis and Butt-head.
True. And we're happy to hopefully have found our people. Just like if you're
Yeah.
listening to this, hopefully you found your people too. And we want to build some community around this show that appreciates that.
Absolutely. We want to find people who are as nerdy about this quote-unquote stupid show as we are. Which begs a very important question we must discuss. When did we get into the show? How did we get into the show? So how about you go first?
All right. So I got into this series because there were only 2 series that my parents banned me from watching. They sat me down and said, Patrick, you can't watch The Simpsons, and Patrick, you can't watch Beavis and Butt-head. I don't think it's a coincidence that those 2 series became 2 of my favorite series of all time because it was banned, because it was the taboo, because it was something I wasn't supposed to be into. And when this started in 1993, spring of 93, I would have been in 5th grade. So still probably young enough that it was maybe a little iffy to have me watching a show like that. And I understand now, looking back, why my parents did that. But within a year, by 1994, I was watching it and my parents knew it and they didn't care anymore. They really understood that I saw it for what it was. I was not going to steal their lighters and start burning things. I was not going to play baseball with a frog. Like, they got it, and I got it, and we never had that conversation of, okay, Patrick, now it's unbanned. It just happened, and I didn't try to hide it from them. So I think your story's a little bit different, though.
Kind of, because I had a sibling in the house, a younger sibling. I discovered it, I think I was 11 in the 6th grade. And like you, I saw the show for what it was. I was not going to set things on fire. I saw that this was meant to portray people who are stupid. These are not things that you emulate. You watch them do it and you laugh at it.
Yes.
Once my mom understood that I got that, it was fine for me to watch Beavis and Butthead. And she watched it with me for a little while. Like when she found out that I was watching, really MTV in general, but especially Beavis and Butthead, because this was about the time when the whole controversy was going and it was full blast in the media. And yes, we're going to have to talk so much about that. But I put her at ease pretty much from the get-go. Now, my sister was a different story because she was 5 years old, and that's considerably different than even an 11-year-old. And so she said, you can watch it, but don't you dare let your sister watch it. And so I had to kind of hide my Beavis and Butthead watching, certainly from her, not necessarily my mom or my dad, but her. And you know what? It didn't always work. And there was just a point where she just wanted to be around me, doing whatever I was doing, because that was allegedly the cool thing to do. And unfortunately, there were times she would sneak into my room and I'd have Beavis and Butthead on. Maybe not even necessarily watching it, I just have it on. And she'd be there and she'd be watching it. And after a while, I think my mom just gave up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's just what happened. And thankfully, my sister did not set things on fire, although I do call her Beavis to this day because she is a little bit of a Beavis and she's blonde. So
It fits perfectly.
the shoe fits.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is the history of the show. I watched it constantly. I would do the whole thing of recording it on VHS so that I could have my favorites on tap whenever I wanted to watch them, and the whole bit.
Yeah, and I remember for me, one of the big things that I got to do, because I had friends, but almost always I was over at my friends' houses, or we would meet at a neutral location. I rarely had people over to my house, but one of the things that happened in my house is when Beavis and Butthead had the series finale, Beavis and Butthead Are Dead, all my friends came over to my house and we watched it together.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, I'm a little jealous because you had friends who also watched Beavis and Butthead. None of my friends were really into this show, which sucked.
And that gets into why it was appealing, because there were a bunch of different reasons why I kind of gravitated to this show, and I know you did too. But one of the things for me that was that it was a popular show in my friend circle. We were all watching it. So what was it that got you into the show if it wasn't your peers?
I just thought it was hilarious. I wanted to see whatever sort of stupid thing they were going to try next. And that really just taps into my own weird, warped sense of humor. It got me, I got it.
Yeah, and I don't want you to think that I was just following the crowd. I was actually still attracted to the show for a lot of different reasons. One was I really did appreciate how kind of punk it was, because it looked like it was done by somebody in their basement, and their basement probably had a few open containers of rubber cement, right? That's what it looked like, and that was appealing because on TV, you got to remember, on TV, the late 80s, early 90s, to get on TV, you really had to have some gloss to you. You had to have some shine. You had to be refined. There was no room for unrefined stuff. So the fact that this was unrefined was very appealing. The fact that it was stupid was very appealing because you didn't have a lot of things where you could just tune in and tune out. There wasn't a lot of that. And for somebody who is almost always stuck in my own thoughts, it was great to have that release of, hey, I can sit down and watch this for half an hour and just kind of turn myself off for a bit. I really liked having that in my life.
Oh my gosh, you're tapping into something that's so important that I realized is really more important than ever to this day, which is a lot of the entertainment I consume is something that I want to disconnect a little bit, make me laugh, and forget about the problems of the day and the world for just a little while. Beavis and Butthead accomplishes that. And I might have not realized it way back when I was a teenager watching the show that it was doing that for me. But certainly as I've gotten older, oh, heck yeah. And you mentioned how everything in this day, the early 90s, was so polished and so produced, and this was really the antithesis of that. Beavis and Butthead, I think, was the beginning of the anything goes era that the 90s is now so famous for, because it did buck the trend so hard. And unfortunately, it did get a lot of negative attention as a result of that, but we'll have to talk about that later. What I'd rather talk about in this episode here, since we're still introducing everything, is maybe some of our favorite episodes and moments, just so folks out there listening can get a feel for what we love about it.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. And I don't want to give any spoilers away. We will talk about some of our favorite episodes and favorite moments and least favorite episodes and stuff in future episodes.
Oh, yeah.
But there are a couple of things that just really stuck out for me. And one of them is, I don't know how many times my friends and I said to each other, "Kick me in the Jimmy."
You know, that's the difference between being a dude and having dude friends. Being a woman. And I had plenty of guy friends, but I never told them, and they never told me, "Kick me in the Jimmy."
Yeah. Now, we would just say it. We wouldn't do it, but we would say it. I think good evidence that we knew to laugh at it, not to follow it as a role model. But my gosh, the number of times we said that to each other, just passing each other in the halls or something like that, to this day, I remember that very distinctly from several of my friends, and they all said it just slightly different. It was so much fun.
I love that. I think for me, the episode and the moment that just solidified my love for the show for life was when Beavis drinks tons of cappuccino and goes up on the poetry stage and just goes off on a massive tyrant, portfolio and
Yes.
stuff like that. Coffee shops were so trendy back in that day, and it was like they were tapping into something that was fun and cool. Something I was aspiring to enjoy myself as an impressionable teenager, but with good intentions.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, the other moment that sticks out for me, and I don't know why all my friends seemed most attracted to Buzzcut as their role model from this show, but the number of times somebody would screw up, just something in mundane day-to-day life, and somebody else would yell, "You just made a fatal mistake, Mr. Candy Ass. Hope you know something about hand-to-hand combat." Oh my, just all the time. But the Mr. Candy episodes and the Manners episodes, anything with David Spade in it, was something we really, really gravitated to and ended up being some of my favorite stuff.
I did not realize that Buzzcut was so popular among your friend group.
Yeah, it was weird. I grew up around some interesting people. I think it was maybe their role model for what a man should look like.
Okay, maybe that's what it was. Okay, that's interesting.
We might go deeper into that in another episode.
I think we have to.
Yes.
I'm intrigued. I want to know more. So another standout moment to me was the entirety of the episode Butt Flambe. But, of course, the capstone of it all was the moment that whatever is between Beavis's butt cheeks lights on fire, and he actually catapults across the operating room, the exam room in the hospital?
Sure.
Like a little rocket. That's basically what he looks like, is there's fire coming out of his ass, and he's moving on some stretcher, and I cannot fully explain why, but it makes me laugh my ass off every single time I watch it, and always has, always will.
I think that's a good choice. I think that's an excellent example for why we love this show, is because it's so stupid, it's so unrealistic, it's so crude, and that's what makes it so lovable.
Yes. Also, the fact that you don't know how this situation started or why. Why is there a firecracker up Beavis's butt? What was he trying to do? What was he thinking? We do not know, and the mystery of it just makes it all the more alluring.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about a lot of that and more in future episodes. Episode 2, our next episode, is going to actually be our top 5 favorite episodes each. we've already prepared our lists and we have not told each other what is on those lists.
Nope.
So I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to explore that with you, but we also have a big working document where right now we have like 40 ideas for different podcasts that we want to do, and hopefully that list grows as we move forward. I know we want to look at things like the deep dive into the fire controversy. I know you would really like to look at what it was like to be a fan of Beavis and Butt-head and of heavy metal and grunge music in the 90s as a young woman, which is a very different experience than I had, as we've already touched on, right?
Oh, yeah. We'll have to contrast that.
Yeah. What are other episodes coming up that you are particularly interested in?
Well, I'm a big fan of lists, so anytime we can go through on really any kind of topic, whether it's the episodes we find the funniest or the ones that maybe did they go too far, maybe our favorite stupid moments, stuff like that. I'm always in favor of doing that because it's straightforward and it's easy to come through, but it's also just a lot of fun to sit back. Once you have that structure in place, you can read it off and discuss and riff, and we're going to have a great time doing that.
And we hope that you, dear listener, disagree with us. We want to hear your thoughts, and we definitely want your feedback. One of the big things that we are also looking for are your episode ideas. So if you have some episode ideas, we are ready to hear from you. Char, can you tell them how they can go about doing that?
Certainly. You can reach out to us on Blue Sky. Our handle is tpforyourearholes.com. And if you feel like emailing us, you can email us at cornholio@tpforyourearholes.com. And as of when we're recording this, right now we do not have a website up yet, but we're hoping to simplify this process for you all, create a contact form, and you can just go there and tell us what you're thinking, if you've got ideas, if you do disagree with us, because this is all subjective, of course, but also to get this community going. Let's all get talking.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear from our people and and the people who grew up with this show like we did, people who have come to discover it later, people who are maybe just getting into it now, maybe people who were my parents and trying to keep their kids from watching it. Maybe they've reached a new appreciation for it.
Yeah.
It stretches across gender lines, it stretches across age lines, and we are excited to hear from all of you.
Yes.
We cannot wait. And we have some big plans for where this podcast will go, and we'll tell you about those things as they get going. For now, though, we're just really happy you're here and really happy that you have at least committed to getting through the first episode of this journey, and we cannot wait to talk to you more.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We hope you'll subscribe, follow our podcast. Again, on Blue Sky, tpforyourearholes.com is where you'll get our news and updates. We're just getting started, y'all. So hopefully you stick around for the next thing.
Yeah, and next week, our top 5 episodes of all time. We can't wait to get into it, and thank you to all you fart knockers out there for joining us.